ask third-party providers to connect with them via an API, where we're going to be going from the Zoom's cloud server to YouTube's cloud server. Okay, we're set. We're ready to go. Any comments, questions before we begin? Ella, you have any comments or questions before we begin?
I don't.
Okay, perfect. So we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. We're here on April 8th together. I appreciate you guys coming out today, and we're gonna try to get our second win to finish up this semester. So again, let me go over our calendar. In this case, we're on August 8th. When is the exam, Audrey?
April 22nd.
So that's 2 weeks from today. Amazing, isn't it? So 2 weeks from today. So Audrey, what I want to do is next week give you a review guide. Okay, so we can talk about that. We're going to cover all the chapters since the last exam, which covers cloud computing, TG3, artificial intelligence, and also ERP, which is enterprise resource planning, as well as analytics. And I'll include also, I think it's important that we cover security and database. It'll be in the same format. So on the 22nd, it will be in the lab, and you'll bring your laptop as a backup and your ID as well. If anyone has, and I've made sure, just like in the first exam, if you have any special accommodations, I will supervise those accommodations in the lab. So you can let Anastasia know, and also myself, if you need extra accommodations for that. On the 27th is the last day of class, and that last day of class, you will be presenting as a group your project. It'll be about a short presentation of what you have, and I will give you feedback on it along with your TA. And then the day before the final exam, you will then create a Zoom recording on your own, about 10 minutes, covering each person in your group, presenting your project, along with a slide of what each person has contributed to the project. And also, you will be doing a peer review anonymously. Each person will review themselves and also evaluate each other in the group, and you will be submitting that anonymously. Of course, it will not be through the audit area. Why not? Because everyone can see in the audit area. So this will be submitted in the regular section, and we'll set that up. So basically, what I want to do today is to cover some concepts with you and answer any questions. So let's begin. Let's go through the part. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to open up. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to open up my tab for YouTube. And what do you see it, Ella?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, and you see yourself as well?
Mhm.
Good. All right. So you see everyone. So let's do this. Let's talk about what's due. I always like to go to that first. And in the what's due section we talked about last time, we had the assignment of what I call either a voice AI agent that has a phone number attached to it that basically is provisioned to accept a large language model. And you had assigned to you chapter 10, which also includes ERP, which stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, Information Systems. And then I gave you a couple of additional readings here. I especially, here was on voice AI agents for human real-time conversations. And we need to know the difference between agents as well. And this was an article here. Read this. And this was an article. And then on this one, on chapter assignment 10, you have the final project. That I want you to, this will be your last step part for your final project. So if I go to audit assignment instructions and go to this section, you will see then some of you have done parts of it already, but you should have upgraded your domain names, created service offerings, implemented. You'll need to implement your Notebook LM and record a podcast based on your company. And then you'll do the VAPI AI agent phone number and be able to embed it and chat with it in conversational mode on your website, and also dial the number externally. And in your presentation, you want, and in your final presentations, you want to show that all of this works. And you will also do videos of different applications that are relevant to your services. And I want to emphasize to you that this will showcase each member in your group some of your AI tools. So I suggest that you rehearse this, that you just don't do it off the cuff, but you may even want to do it once and then redo it so it looks quite professional, less than 5 minutes. You also want to show your face in the corner, that you give it some sense of trustworthiness, and be able to also show the pros and cons of your software, to show also of trust that you're critical of some of this software. You'll do a YouTube account where you can place all of your videos into this account plus others. You can also place in there some of the videos that you have for your social media. You should have upgraded your domain name. In this case, once you have your domain name, you'll set up your SEO, answer their wizard with their questions, create the free services. Here's an idea on how to do the Notebook LM. What I've asked our TAs to do for the Notebook LM is to create another tutorial, that they create a video that not only do you see it as a step-by-step, but you can see them in preparations, and hopefully they get that uploaded by the end of the week. And then for the VAPI, I've also asked our TAs to put a tutorial for the VAPI in case you have issues on how to attach that VAPI to your website. So it's nice that you can click on it and talk to our agent. You can also, as I said before, say that you can offer that as a service. Your company can either do it for your customers or your company can teach them. So via VAPI, you can do a temporary one, getting a VAPI number, and through others, you can have them teach them how to buy their own provision phone number and then import it into VAPI so they own the number. Because right now, VAPI can take that phone number away from you, and it also has just limited amount of time for tokens. So this is going through the VAPI here. And of course, you need to continue on with your social media. Any comments or questions on that? Is that pretty clear, Ella?
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so we finish with that. And then let me go back to what's due. We think about the chapters of what's due. This last one on business analytics is the last chapter I will cover for you for the test. So it'll be chapter 12, right? Chapter 10. It will be chapter 14 and Tech Guide 3. Those will be on the exam. Plus, I will add some questions that I think are quite important from reviewing from the last test of chapter 4 and 5, the security and also the database management. So let's do this. So when we think about cloud, who can raise their hand and explain to me what you think cloud means? And why is that good for an organization? We can kind of start even now reviewing. Any ideas? So I've asked you, Anna, what do you view as cloud computing?
I would say that cloud computing is kind of like, but like the cloud is like the network of remote servers that you can like store your data on. So I would say that's what cloud computing is.
Okay, so it was one is your data can be stored. So first of all, cloud computing means that I go over the internet. Everybody clear with that? Audrey, you feel that? Whenever I'm thinking about cloud computing, I know that I have to go through a browser, right? And get to my data or another software. So for instance, right now we're on what software platform? Preston, what software platform are we on right now? All of us.
Zoom.
Zoom is an application. So the question is, Preston, is Zoom cloud-based or local?
Cloud-based.
Cloud-based. That in order for you to be in my class, you need to be on the internet, right? So that we all know. So you could be anywhere. Like Noam told me before that he had to be at the airport. He can be anywhere. He can be here in Miami. He can be in San Francisco. He can be in Honolulu. We can get together via those servers. So what's the advantage of that, Preston?
Or you can connect anywhere. I guess that's
Yeah,
the main
it's
advantage.
basically I can connect anywhere, right? But what do I need? I need to have an internet access, right? So if I'm somewhere, one is I have to have internet access. And if I, like Anna told me, Preston, that she has her data on another server, is there any disadvantage to that you can think of, Preston?
It could be like less secure because if the servers they can like
Right.
breached, all
Basically,
your
is it in
information is
your
gone.
possession? As soon as you log into the internet, everybody, as soon as you log into, if we're on campus and you do your Wi-Fi, you're already more susceptible. Everybody understand that, Raphael? You're already more vulnerable because other people can see you around the world. If I have access to my computer and I'm not connected to the internet, am I more safe, Raphael? In terms of people getting to my data. What do you think, Raphael? Does Raphael hear me? Raphael, do you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you hear my question, Raphael?
No, sorry.
Okay. So my question was, Raphael, you're connected to the internet right now. I know that because you see me on Zoom, I see you on Zoom, right?
Yeah.
And if you weren't connected to the internet, is your data on your computer more secure if you were not connected to the internet? True or false? It's a great question. We're doing like test questions. You like that, Preston? We're basically kind of reviewing what are the concepts rather than doing that. So what do you think, Raphael? If I'm asking you, are you more secure if you're not on the internet, your data on your computer, the data that resides on your computer?
I think it will be secure probably without.
Okay. All right. What do you think, Ella? You want to repeat the question? The question is if you can connect to the internet or you're not connected to the internet and you have data on your are you more on your computer, are you more secure not being connected to the internet with the data just residing on your computer and not in
I
someone?
think so, because then it's like local, so no one else can access it.
Yeah, most likely no one can access it. How do you become more vulnerable? Is as soon as you get on the internet, you get on a public internet, you are more vulnerable. But what, Preston? There's advantages, right? Everything has trade-offs. There's risks everywhere. And what do you want to do is you want to match what you need to do versus basically to keep you more safe. So many times when you're using AI, have you ever used Preston ChatGPT?
Of course, yeah.
Of course. Anything that you're prompting into ChatGPT, where does it go?
Probably OpenAI servers.
OpenAI servers. So they have what you have asked it all along, right? They have, and what they do is what companies sometimes are concerned. If you're asking secret information to ChatGPT about the data of your company, that gets to where? ChatGPT servers. And then when they try to look at it, you do not know what happens. Also, it takes time to process to go to all those servers. Have you noticed when I go to, let's just even look at this. Preston, I'm looking here, right? And when I'm going to look at this screen, What do you see at that screen? Preston,
YouTube live stream.
YouTube live stream. Is there a latency?
Yeah,
When I
definitely.
put up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, look how long it's going to be for me to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quite a long period of time, right? Of that latency there. So what is the issue? I'm jumping to another server. It's going to take time to do that. So we have to consider the difference between local and cloud. So there's, which is interesting, what I just found out, right, Ella, is that you've heard of Google, right?
Yes.
Google came up with a new product called Google AI Edge Eloquent. And look at this word. You know what AI is, right? You know Google. And you see this where it says edge? Do you see that?
Yes.
In computing terms, that has meaning. So that means it's on the edge. It isn't on the internet. It isn't quite in the cloud. It's almost, you can think about it, Ella, is it basically before, and look what it says. AI Eloquent is a free, you know how I love free, offline first dictation app recently launched by Google. So Ella, what do you think offline means?
You don't have to use internet to use it.
Yeah, yes. And it means that it's what, when we're talking about it, offline can be then local. It means then it's on the edge, and it uses one of the on-device gamma AI models to transform what? Natural speech into polished professional text by automatically removing filler words like ums, uhs, self-corrections. So the key here, it's offline. All transcription and AI cleanup happens directly on your device. So Preston, when somebody says it, it depends on the application. Basically what you say is sometimes I want it to be directly on my device. Most of the applications you use every day is what? In the cloud. It's using somebody else's server, somebody else's processing. But sometimes what's the advantage, Anna? It ensures privacy and low latency. So a great question for you to understand then, and if we asked about cloud computing, is what could be advantages of having it what? Edge computing or offline computing would be that you see how it would ensure privacy? Because you're not storing any of your files where? On somebody else's server. When we do YouTube, do you know what they're doing with it? They say, most likely they're not, but is it more susceptible than if I have it just on my device and YouTube doesn't have access to my computer? Now, I could possibly, if, get a malware or something on my computer that I download something, and even if I go offline, sometimes what I do is I just go offline to not perseverate those problems sometimes even with some kinds of spams. So this is the area, and then what it does is it captures intended meaning rather than transcribing verbatim. What does that mean, Preston? That now it's using getting to be more intelligent rather than just picking up every word you say. That's what we as humans do, right? Sometimes I'll say something, and even if you don't take me, sometimes I'll say, don't take me, Preston, literally. Get my intention. Sometimes I make jokes, Preston, right? And they may not come in, but give me the intention that even if I'm putting you on the spot, I want you to learn, right? My intention is not to embarrass you, right? My intention is not to make you feel uncomfortable. My intention is, one is to get the class more involved, and two, to wake everybody up, because it's easy, especially online. You agree with me, Preston? Kind of to fade away and look at your phone and just get your mind wandering. So this is kind of interesting that I wanted to show you here. And it is so new. That's what's amazing about this industry, that every week there's something else that they're improving. And notice this, once transcribed, you can reshape your text into different formats. And this is what's nice about any of these, that you can say, just like you can do with ChatGPT or do any of the policy, even when I do an email or something, make it formal, give me key points, make it short, make it long without re-recording. Isn't that beautiful? And could that be a useful application? Yes. And what did they say is, this is what people want. And then the app can pull specialized vocabulary and jargon from your Gmail account. Notice from your Gmail account, because why? It's Google. Right? So they want to urge you to use their own products, but later on, their competitors will do something again to improve accuracy. And you can see here, where do they decide they put it on certain operating system? What operating system did they start off first with, Anna? Under
iOS. It looks like iOS.
And what is iOS? For the iPhone. Why did they do it for the United States for the iPhone? Because that's the most popular operating system for a phone using iPhone. And notice for Android and Mac OS, the plans for releases on these platforms have been reported with potential for deep integration as a default on Android. So this is kind of interesting. Why do I tell you about that, Preston? Is that idea of, why would anybody want to do local? Because the big push in the last 10 years has been, let's do cloud computing, cloud computing, cloud computing. And everybody was just excited about it. Don't have to worry about my CPU, don't have to burn. And the computing in cloud computing is just on not storing my data, but getting even computations to be not on my machine, but on somebody else's server, and renting out services. So if we were a company, Anna, then what we would do is we could even rent out hardware, we can rent out different software, we can rent out development work, and we pay as we go. That's what they mean, cloud computing versus just the cloud. We're now using just the cloud. We're users of the cloud, right? But it could be Zoom even is using cloud computing services from Amazon. And we don't know where they're hosting it. They could be hosting all of Zoom and all our recordings. They could be hosting it on Amazon, and we're not even aware of it. So that is the idea. So I think this is just fantastic to think about. Would I ever even want to do cloud? And in this case, you could see here that that's why they call it edge. It's kind of like on the edge of the internet. It's not on it, but it's on the edge of it. So you can see here, everybody's talking about it, and it's currently only on iOS, but Google plans to bring the app to Android and Mac OS. So, and then you can see also the popularity of what is the difference. Remember, we were talking about operating systems, that idea that software has to match the operating system. Even though in iOS and in Mac OS, it's going to have the same functionality, but they have to program it differently to run on different operating systems. You got it, Ella? So that's the key here. And this just came out. Notice this was posted on April 6th. So it's pretty new. And this is exciting here that it's still using that same technology and the summarization, just like Zoom is, right? That now we talked about that AI companion, right? It does some of the same things. When we talk about even the podcast, that I want a short podcast, I want a longer podcast, I want it more formal. All of this can be able to do that natural language processing, but it can create then formal. And what's the beauty? It can also do multiple languages, what they call multimodal. And when they talk about it, they also talk about the AI. Let me go back. They talk about AI as having sentiment. Everybody understand what I just said? They have AI. Lindsay, did you understand what I just said? I talked about AI sentiment. I don't see you, Lindsay. I just see your eyes. It's almost like witness protection program, Lindsay. So, perfect. So if you can sit up a little bit so we can see you. So in that case, I'm going to then have sentiment. What does that mean? That's what I'm asking the whole class. What is, first of all, what is sentiment and what is it doing with AI? So Lindsay, let's have a discussion here. Have you ever called a friend and asked them, how are you doing? And they just say, okay, and you know it's not okay?
Yeah,
How do you know that?
because you can tell by like their tone of their voice.
Their tone of the, we can tell, but could you describe it to me what it is? It's almost difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me in words, tell me how you would program a computer to be able to say that when they say okay, I can tell they're not okay. It's almost the way of your voice. So basically, can you tell when a friend is, when you hear their voice, if they're happy, they're sad, they seem to be disturbed, they seem to be irritated? You almost can tell that by the voice. You don't even have to see their face, right? You almost, you can tell by the voice. So that's what they're trying to program into AI. In voice conversations, and let's say we use it for customer support, when the user is angry, I call and I'm just really upset because I've been online with tech support for 2 hours and I've just been on hold, right? Am I going to be upset? Yes. Right. And in this case, it's a human being can hear that, right? And they teach these, contact managers sitting on the phone, right, in contact centers to, try to be empathetic and say, yes, I know, Dr. Rush, I see that you're upset that you had to wait too long. We apologize. How can we make it better? They'll try to do that. So it's the same thing on being angry, to be indifferent. They're trying in this case to do sentiments. So that's part of the idea now with agents doing a task and also in voice conversation. Let's put in sentiments, and then you then have to program in some way the agents to see what kind of demeanor they should have, how they should basically respond to each of their clients. So if I then share, let me share my screen. So if I go to my VAPI dashboard, right? Let's see, am I here? Let me open my dashboard. Let's see if it'll respond. Let's just do, okay. And then go to Google. I'll go to one of my accounts, my Google accounts, and it should be non-school because you need to own it. And it says here, it says that, it says, hey, Dr. S. Rush, how can I help you? And they have something called Composer here, which is basically like vibe programming that you put in one sentence, almost like generative AI. You put in what you want and it'll create a system for you. Notice it says alpha. So you have any idea, Jack, what alpha means? You see here in the corner here of Composer, it says Composer Alpha. Got any clue what that would mean?
Maybe just
You
like
ever heard it? What?
I was gonna say maybe just like the first, like,
Yeah, the first version. So do you have a lot of trust in it or little trust?
I mean, if it's the first, I would probably say not a lot of trust because
Yeah,
they
but they're
haven't like
giving it out
updated
for
it.
you to try out.
Yeah.
So basically that's an alpha. Sometimes they'll say it's a beta version till it's a final. But what they're trying to do here in their Composer, which is kind of interesting, is they're trying to make it as you can say, I want an agent, and you give it the description just like you do in ChatGPT, and then you don't even have to mess with anything. It will create it for you. So they're trying to look, this company is trying to do the same thing as what the trend in everyone it is. Now there's in 11 labs, there's now anybody hear of Sono? Have you heard of Sono, Jack?
No, I have not.
So let's do Sono here. Sono is an AI music generator that you can create your own songs. You say, hey, I want house music. I wanted to have this type of beat, or I want to have reggae or reggaeton. And then you say what it is, and it will create songs for you. It will create the cover for you, create the lyrics. I've had some musicians come in and use Sono, and in 5 minutes you got a song. Now there's one that's a competitor in 11 Labs. They'll do songs, Jack, where you do it in one prompt and you get everything done. In a way, it's great for us non-musicians. In other ways, if you're a musician, it can bother you. But anyways, you can see on those aspects how they're working. So in the same way, when I'm looking at this Composer, it's the same way. Give me in a sentence, write in a sentence, and I can produce it. If you look at then my phone numbers, you can see already I have attached the phone number that spells USA, the 872, MON, the 666, WELL, WELL. So it's almost like monitoring wellness. And basically you can see here that the server URL is configured right on my server, right? It gives me my details, my authorization, my inbound phone number. So Ella, what does inbound phone number means?
Isn't it like embedded?
Inbound means that people can call into this phone number. That's what inbound means. So there's outbound and inbound. Inbound, assign an assistant to handle incoming calls to this phone number. So instead of you, Ella, giving out your phone number for your company, you could give this number. And in one way, you could set it up as to basically scan all your calls. So one is they don't get your direct mobile number. You don't want to give your direct mobile number to every schmo out there, right? For what reason? For security and privacy, right, Ella? And the other idea, it's inbound. Then you can even decide from this part of saying hello and asking questions, then you could transfer it to what? To another agent, voice agent, or you could transfer it to a human. You could have a human in the loop, basically just have you ever heard, Ella, when you're on a phone call, they say this call is being recorded for training purposes?
Yes.
So you could do that too. You could even put that as in one of the responses here, just like when you had the responses of what should be the first prompts, right, of the assistants, you could set it up. And in this case, I set it up to the assistant. You always have to attach this inbound phone number to an assistant. Outbound calling then would be the agent could call your customers. And you could say, hey, don't forget we have an event tonight. Hey, don't forget we have a Zoom webinar. Hope you can come. So instead of you calling and having somebody call each of your attendees, you could have that do outbound calls. You don't want to do outbound calls just for spamming purposes, but if you had a list of the people giving you their numbers that they've attended, they're planning to attend, you could do this. And what is squad? Squad is one agent does one task, but you could have a number of agents do a number of things. So you could have one agent, for instance, answer the call, and then you could say, okay, do you want to schedule with our CEO, Ella? And they said, yes. Okay, let me transfer you. And they could transfer you to the scheduler. And that scheduler could be another AI agent. So under assistance, what you could have is you could see here I could have Ava here, it doesn't matter. Automatically you see costs. Anytime you run a language model, it costs in what they call tokens. So when you ever have it, some companies give free out the tokens. This one does, right? But it gives you limited models, but you want to keep in mind how much it's going to cost you. So you have the cost here per minute, and then you have the model, and notice here, you have all providers, and this is what is good about this platform, is that you can have a number of different companies that have different models that you could use. So you can see here, the list are all the popular ones, from OpenAI to Microsoft to Anthropic to Google to Grok. And you can choose then any of these companies, and within here, they have different models. And what are these models? They're language learning models. And you can see some do reasoning, some are standard, some are smaller ones. You see some of them are based on conversation. Some you want to do the latest. And you see right up here, multimodal. You see that, Ella? Multimodal means many different modes, and that would be good in which you would want to have your agent speak number of languages. So instead of saying press 1 for, have you ever seen a press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish, right? When the person speaks Spanish, you would have then the agent understand right away that they were speaking Spanish, and they would respond in Spanish to them, or Russian, or Greek, or French, or whatever. So instead of, you can see how it would be good, instead of having just someone for knowing several languages, or just having 5 different people just picking up, receptionists picking up the phone, this could be in the start with replacement, but you, Ella, could listen into the call if you wanted. And what's nice here is they also give you you see this transcriber? So you have a transcript, and guess what? That transcript then could then see what are the issues there and have the agent learn. When they don't get the problem right, you can put into the system, oh, they asked Ella, how much do they charge? And then agent just said $100, or they said, I don't know. So you could tell them, you could put into the model what? that the first visit is free. And after that, we can decide. So in this case, you decide with this. This is called a voice AI agent platform. That's what they mean by a platform, that a company sets it up, that a number of users or companies can use their platform. And they've set it up that you can see here. Let me just go down. That if I look at the model, that you can see here in the model here, which is interesting what you did, right? Hello, this is Ava from USA Monwell. How can I assist you today? And then you can put things about your company, like who is the team here? What do you want them to do? You may want to tell them other things. Also here, they're even doing of what are the characteristics of Ava. It's amazing here, really, when you think about it. Ava combines deep technical knowledge, strong sense of emotional intelligence. It's a damn computer. And it's talking about emotional intelligence. Remember we talked about sentiment? She's engineered to recognize and adapt to emotional tones of the conversations, allowing trainees to practice managing emotional nuances effectively. So it's almost like you could train people. A lot of people, some people are really good in emotional intelligence. Others have stronger or less, right? Ava encourages trainees to practice active listening. Yes, I'm here. How can I help? She emphasizes the importance of clear, empathetic communication. That's a damn machine. Again, and it's talking about empathy. That's sentiment. So that's a sentiment where it goes to. And then you can see here the tokens. And these tokens here that's the payment system. All of these large language models require tokens. And people that are really like AI engineers, Ella, they're also, besides giving them huge amounts of salaries, they're giving them huge amounts of tokens. So they can go and they can explore it. Because every time you try this, it requires work. And those tokens, that's how they're measuring it. And you see here, voice configuration. Sometimes it speaks too fast. Slow it down. Fallback, you have a transcriber, you have a fallback, you have tools, customs. So you really can get it. They're getting better and better on this. It's still, I always like to use it for what I call low-hanging fruit. You have any idea what I mean, Ella, when I say I like to use it for low-hanging fruit?
Not really.
I'd like to use it where it won't cause a lot of issues for the company. That I don't expose them to security problems. You understand that, Preston? That what I want to do is my first examples, I want to do something simple, maybe like doing in terms of answering the phone on the first pass, or maybe for scheduling, or the first part of customer support, and training it when it doesn't know the answer. Let me either we'll have somebody get back to you, or let me get somebody on the line. That first area that they don't have to have it to be able to program, where does it fit in the organization? And that's where I see you folks, where you'll get jobs. Do you understand that, Anastasia? I see where you'll get jobs is you'll be deciding for companies what should be automated, what models should we use, and what should we where should it be best for? Maybe, an instruction, first one have office hours for professors for the end program. What does everybody want? When's the first exam, right? What will be on the exam? What are your office hours? something like that for people and interacting. And then it could also be, since it had an LLM attached to it, you could ask it, I'm not sure what cloud computing is. Can you tell me? And since it has a language model behind it, Ella, it could answer those questions probably a lot too, because it does have, that open AI still in the background. You're just adding to that open AI to your specifics. So try it out when you do your phone and you'll do your system prompts, then try it out by asking other questions besides about your company. Maybe, what was your company, Ella?
Genmark Consulting.
Right. So in that, basically in what is Gen AI, or what are the best tools in AI marketing or something like that, generic kind of things about AI. It'd be interesting. And you can even incorporate that when you record and see how it is. So one part is that what I wanted to show you is in these conversational agents attached to a phone, that phone number is not a regular phone number that you get from T-Mobile or Verizon. That is a telephone number that an AI large language model is incorporated into it. You couldn't call it and say, okay, it'll just be my number. And so what they're doing is they're giving you some free numbers that they gained, but what they do, VAPI is saying there's other companies like Twilio that you basically go to them and you say, I want an AI provision phone number. And then you can choose that. And then Ella, you can buy it, just like you're buying, like you have your own phone number that you can use for years, right? That doesn't matter whether you're in Pennsylvania, you're in Florida, California, people keep on using their same phone number because it's easy. So instead, you go to these companies and you have think about it, your large language model number or your provisioned AI number, and then you can import it, bring it into VAPI, and he says, I have my own number. It's almost like when you go to a carrier and say, can I bring in my number? You need permission. You're bringing in your own agent number. And then from their platform, then you're programming it to do a number of different things. And you can do something simple like an assistant, like what we're doing, using inbound. And what does inbound mean? That somebody's calling in. Or you can make outbound calls where your number and your agent is calling out to numbers that you give it. So give it to my best customers that you have already and tell them that we're having a special, or we're going to have a special party, like an added conversation. And then you can have conversation and it will have a conversation with the unit, or it can, if they don't pick up, it can leave a message. Does that help, that idea of cloud computing, Anna? That is, computing does also, think about the word computing, that it also does processing, that you can use it on demand for hardware, or on demand for software, or on demand for software development by using another company's servers. And you can also ask what you want. I want to have a computer that has 128 gig and it has let's say 50 gig of storage, and also can run some AI modeling on it or prediction models on it. That's cloud computing. But the difference is sometimes you want that edge or locally and you want to just do it on your computers locally, and sometimes you do a combination. I do some of the processing on my computer. I go back to the internet and do some more there. Kind of what we were talking about before, caching going back and forth. So there's a combination, but now there's like a trend that people say, sometimes I just want to just do it on doing what they call local host or local. I want to host my own model. I don't need to go to the internet. It's small enough. I don't need that latency. What's latency? Who can tell me what latency means? Do we ever see latency? What's an example of latency? In Zoom, Preston, what's an example? In when we do from Zoom, when we live stream, what's latency there?
The difference, like the time it takes.
Yeah, when you see me here in Zoom, which is probably a little bit of latency, that when you see me human, if we were in a classroom, there's little latency there, right? Zero latency. You see me as I'm doing it. But then when you see me on Zoom, there's a little bit of latency. But then when we live stream, we're doing what? We're hopping from Zoom server to whatever YouTube is using, their server. So that hopping takes what? Some time, and that's latency. So then you decide on the agent where you want sometimes them to have a lower amount of latency. When Ella calls in my number, USA Manuel, she doesn't want to wait, let's say 3 seconds for it to respond. She wants to have it quicker. But if they want it quicker right now, she probably have to, that's going to use more tokens. So right now it's kind of, we're setting it up how much, or we wanted to, since it's an automated voice, we want to have it not speak so fast. And we wanted to separate it into words, but you have those controls. Questions? So that's the idea of the AI. And then if I look here, sharing, and I looked at this article then, see, this was on cloud computing and Azure. They were telling me all those results. Let's see if this will work. Why is page not found all of a sudden? We have to redo that. Under voice agents of those conversational, right? So they basically talking about it is the future of customer reaction. It's spoken, and we can have AI agents that can be text-based, but we also can have now, the trend is voice-based, giving it, in this case, more of autonomy, reasoning, planning, and also memory. The idea is, Ella, you could call in one time and you could be, the agent could be filling out a form for you and say, if you want to be part of this project, give me your first name, last name, right, and C number. And you say, I don't have my C number. So they would have memory, and they say, you know what, Ella, call back. And if you call back, they know the number you're calling from. They can start with question 3 rather than having to start all over again. So they maintain contact throughout extended short term, and they can refer to past interactions or long term. And then what they can do then is they can talk to other programs. And notice what it is: specialized application programming interface. API to process transactions, fetch real-time information. And why are they important? 24/7. I can scale up. Compliance. And this is what they call automatic speech recognition. It takes those spoken words and converts it to text. And it can do reasoning, text to speech, and again, latency management. And what you can use it for, right? It tells financial services, fraud detections, proactively calling customers with real-time fraud alerts, right? So that's what inbound or outbound, right? Retail ordering, returns, healthcare, appointment scheduling, automatic booking, rescheduling, prescription refills, travel hospitality, AI concierge, request extra towels, telecommunications, all the billing. And then they basically have a clue. And then it's WhatsApp. Okay, questions? So Anastasia, if you can be so kind and give us the code for attendance, I'll stay as long as people need me after class. And on Monday, hopefully you'll work through your social media and all the steps we have, and then we can keep on improving this as we go along. Thanks a lot, Ella, for helping us moderate this session and taking on all the questions.
I had a
Center.
question about adding the Notebook LM audio.